Hello, Old School Comics Review. Today we're going to look at Black Orchid by Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean. This is the original mini-series that was published by DC Comics in 1988. This was done in what they were calling at that time the Prestige format, which was what they originally printed the original Dark Knight Returns and a few other things, Longbow Hunters, starring Green Arrow by Mike Grell. They did the the post-crisis history of DC Comics, or history of the DC Universe. That's what they were calling it, by Marvel Men and George Perez. And this is where you have like the big thick paper, the heavy paper, the heavy glossy cover, square bound covers here. And it was really different at the time. This was right at the time when the comic book companies were really changing up and experimenting with different formats and stepping up their production values, and they were able to do these things like the painted art, the intricate and various tones and things like that. And what's interesting about this comic book, it's a Black Orchid, and like I said, it's by Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean. But they hadn't started the Vertical line here. This looks exactly like what you would expect a Vertical comic from the early 1990s to look, but they hadn't started on the Vertical line yet. So it's kind of it's a little bit, it's borderline surprising to see like the DC, the old-fashioned DC logo right there front and center in the on the cover. But that's what was going on back in 1988. For people who don't know, Neil Gaiman's been around for a while. He's pretty famous for doing comics. He's worked for Marvel. He's done a lot of stuff for DC. He's probably most known for doing the Sandman series over there at DC. But he's also written novels. He's done teleplays. He's done children's books. He's done things with Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman has collaborated with Dave McKean on several different things. One of their things was something called Signal to Noise, which I have not read, but I do know it got some good critical reviews. They did a children's book called Caroline that was made into a movie a couple of years ago. They did another one called The Day I Swapped My Dad for Two Goldfish, and the cover to that was actually used as a cover to a Counting Crows album cover. So both these gentlemen have varied interests. They've made their mark in various different facets of, commercial art and comics and graphic art and things like that. And like I said, this probably came out at the right time to kind of break the stereotype of comic books being this kind of low budget thing, showing how the art form can be used to do different types of, sequential art and graphic art and things like that. Okay, anyway, getting to the story. Black Orchid was originally this minor, mysterious superhero character that they used in the early mid-70s a few times. Never caught on. They only used her a few times. So I brought her back in this series. Basically, and I'm not really giving anything away, in the very opening scene, the 70s version of the Black Orchid gets killed by the bad guys. And the next scene, a young woman wakes up and she's not sure who she is or where she is or what she is, but she seems to have some of the memories of the old Black Orchid. And you kind of find out that she's not quite human. There might be other creatures or beings kind of like her as well. And the story is basically her journey as she discovers who and what she is and what her connection was to the previous Black Orchid, as well as what her connection is to certain other beings in the DC universe. And that's another fun aspect of this story. Lex Luthor has a minor part in this. Batman makes a 1-page, 2-page cameo in there. And there are other characters and environments that are well known to people who read DC Comics. And I don't want to give too much of it away, But like I said, she has a certain relationship to certain other people that make total sense if you've ever read other DC comics. But even if you haven't, it still makes sense. It still works. I think what Neil Gaiman was trying to do was bring about a different, use the character in a new way, different way, bring about a certain type of mysticism and lyricism, and also without making it seem like a hippy drippy tree hugging type thing, put about certain ideas of like pacifism and things like that. Way that there's a way of dealing with people who may be violent without turning into a violent, hateful person yourself. So it's really interesting. The art is really marvelous. I think it's worth buying just on the art alone. You've got lots of interesting things going on with different types of, I should say, with interesting color hues, lots of nice, pen and ink drawing, lots of I don't know. I'll be pretentious and say, oh, look at the pastels and things like that. But he mixes up the art styles. He mixes up the various media and the different moods he's trying to get to. Anyway, it's very lovely and it's very nice. Now, I bought these things. I bought these three comics at my local comic shop, and they were having a sale, so I was able to get them pretty cheap. I know this story was collected in a trade paperback at one time, but I'm not 100% sure if it's still in print. I would say first go to your like normal brick and mortar store and see if they've got it. And if not, then go online and try to order it. I'm sure you'll be able to find it pretty cheap. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I gotta thank you very much for listening. I appreciate any ideas and thoughts you might have. Leave a comment. Check out my blog. Leave a comment there. Tell me I'm stupid. Tell me or whatever. Also, once again, I gotta thank you very much, and you guys have a great one.